Hello and welcome to the Let's Examine Addiction podcast. My name is Charles. Today we will be talking about me and my history, essentially the things I'll be going over in future podcasts, things I've experienced, and maybe even things I can connect on other people with. As always, please understand that I am not a trained professional and do not use this podcast as an alternative to proven medical methods such as AA, NA, therapy, rehab, and anything of the sort. So for my bio, I'm going to go over a little bit about me. I come from a pretty long line of alcoholics. I don't think there's been any other real major drug use in my family that I know of, essentially. I know my dad went through a rough patch and stated that he might have dabbled in other things, but I don't essentially know what he was talking about. My first drink was actually at the age of 17. I was at a graduation party for a friend in high school. My alcoholism really didn't take off crazy back then. It was kind of just, I guess, dabbling in it. It didn't really get its hooks into me at that point. I mean, I could have taken it or left it. Even before that, I probably had the opportunity to drink, especially with my dad and his friends, but honestly, I was more interested in playing video games than drinking, and I kind of wish I would have stuck more with the video game route than the alcohol route. It honestly would have saved me a lot of heartbreak and pain, but, we can't really change the past, so no point of dwelling on it. I didn't really start drinking until I entered the Army. I had friends in the military who liked to drink quite a bit, and essentially would buy me alcohol as well, so that's kind of how I kind of really got into it. Back when I was younger, I also was the type that I wouldn't stop drinking until I was sick, unfortunately. I also, in part just because I really don't have any off switch. Even now, if I do have drinks, I have to drink essentially until I go to bed, otherwise I get like massive headaches. I don't know, I really don't have an off switch, and my body, I guess, doesn't see the recreational drinker, somebody who can drink for the taste. I guess that's just part of my body and my makeup that unfortunately exists. I also have been a smoker since the age of 18, and actually earlier this month hit over a year of no nicotine at all. I was smoked for about 16 years with on and off there towards the end. I would kind of quit, take it back up. I'd switch to different methods, such as switching from smoking to dipping or vaping, especially because there towards the end, the smell of cigarettes, just kind of made me sick. Near the end, I actually did turn to vaping pretty hardcore. It was unfortunately increased my nicotine consumption by quite a bit because I didn't feel like it was smoking, so I'd smoke more often, especially while driving. It was just kind of one of those things where it doesn't feel quite like a cigarette, so I'd either smoke or dip while driving, and it was just kind of hard to quit the craving someday. Thankfully, about a year ago, I just ended up one day, I threw my vape away and honestly never looked back. There's a few things I'll go over on how I achieved that, just kind of different things I found that worked a little bit. Honestly, if you're going to quit smoking and give up, I would say any addiction, my best way was giving it up for yourself. I always tried to quit, for my brothers or for family or for A, B, or C reason, and it never stuck. I guess it was just kind of, I wanted to not feel short-winded anymore. I'd be out of breath really quickly. I think that's related to a different medical issue and just kind of ended up falling at the right time, so it kind of helped me give up smoking. So I'm going to go over a little bit about myself now as well, and kind of what played into all that different things. I was in the Army as finance for 4 years. I went in straight out of high school. Never saw any combat. I did see 2 deployments. Actually, that was the first place I started drinking pretty heavily. My first Christmas there, I wasn't able to come home, so my buddy who was going on leave actually bought me a bunch of alcohol, so I just kind of chilled in my room and drank over the vacation, played video games, stuff like that. The military was definitely very alcohol orientated, especially in the barracks. If I hung out with anybody outside of work hours, it was usually alcohol-related get-togethers. In the barracks, we definitely drank pretty heavily. There was even one lunch where we came back from the motor pool to take shots. So alcohol was definitely a huge part of that. I was actually listening to another podcast this morning where somebody stated that it wasn't really the drinking that brought people together in the military. It was more of the hangovers, because that kind of pain and the bad feeling that came with it kind of brought you together and made you feel like you had something in common, which oddly enough makes sense. At first I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but then explaining it like that really ended up making sense. I mean, we'd even go on battalion runs at 5 a.m. and a bunch of us would stay up drinking until 2 a.m. So you'd go back, get 3 hours of sleep, wake up just feeling like absolute garbage, then have to go run miles upon miles before then going into work. So all of that just makes so much sense. There was even one point where I used like a fake ID to get into a bar. It looked absolutely nothing like me. It was my buddy's brother's ID. Like, his brother had like a square jaw, was like really like good looking guy in comparison to me. I actually still have the ID in my safe. And it just looked absolutely nothing like me, and somehow managed to get in. We even got alcohol in while we were deployed to Iraq. We got drunk and played a game called Slaps, where we just essentially just slapped each other. It was super stupid, super reckless, but we were also in our like early 20s. Actually, I was even younger than that. I was 19 at the time. So it was super reckless and could have ended badly in so many ways. Like, even outside of the danger of being over there, like the punitive consequences that could have came, it was just one of the dumbest things honestly I think I've ever done. There was even the night that my great grandma Pauline was passing, I ended up spending the entire night drinking instead of being with her. That's probably one of my biggest regrets, I would say. I mean, I'd probably give anything to go back and actually spend that time with her instead. I mean, out of all the screw ups I've ever done, that one is like my biggest regret. And I try not to regret stuff, because regretting stuff doesn't really help. One of my old supervisors in the Army actually told me that. He's like, there's no reason to regret anything. You can't really go back and change it, so it's really, really useless to waste that energy on it. And I'd say, like, out of the few things I try to regret, not spending that time with her is definitely one of them. It's one of those things that does really, really haunt me anymore. And one of the other major things that I did was I ended up getting drunk and thrown up on a supervisor. That was extremely stupid of me. I don't know. It was just one of those things where we were hanging out and ended up puking on her, which was so embarrassing. It just, I don't know. Being young and stupid and drinking like that is, I look back on it and don't understand why I did any of it. So, and I apologize if these transitions are a little wonky. I'm trying to kind of figure out how to do the transitions. I kind of wrote most of these before I really got a few podcasts into this in my other podcast. So it's a little wonky, and I apologize. I just know I am working on them. And after the military, I did end up drinking pretty heavily. Not quite as bad to where I'd get sick every night. I was actually working at the prison. I was going to school full time for my criminal justice degree. I was working at the prison, working doubles almost every other day. It was pretty consistently overtime heavy for my entire 3 years. I mean, that one, just like the military, was very alcohol orientated, especially for like second shift we were on. We'd all hit the bar afterwards and go have a bunch of drinks and then go home. Super reckless, but it was a high stress, and the shift just ended at drinking hours, so it was extremely convenient just to hit the bar afterwards. I mean, the job was so high stress that I ended up losing 2 friends to their own hand during that time. Both of them were pretty amazing people, and it's just one of those things where the stress ended up getting so bad that they felt that was their only out. And I mean, drinking was just one of those things that was there. And while some days it felt like it kind of helped, there was others that obviously it couldn't cure everything. Especially nowhere near compared to what therapy would have, but there's such a stigma against it. And especially for those 2 guys, I really wish that they would have sought therapy, because they were both legitimately great guys. They both had families, people that loved them. It just would have been beneficial to pretty much everybody to have those 2 still here, because, I mean, I would trade places with either of them, because out of everything I've done, I know that those 2 were way better people than I am, and have been, honestly. I think about them 2 quite a bit, to be honest, probably more than I should, but at least they're not forgotten in that sense. Outside of my professional life, I've had 2 major run-ins with the law. The one was an alcohol-related hunting incident in 2010 in the Army. That one I'll go over in quite a bit of detail. Essentially, we were drinking tequila, and somebody suggested going hunting. I thought it was hunting in the woods. They meant out of a truck, so that didn't end well. And then the other one was my DUI in 2017 while I was working at the prison. I had gone to a mental health facility to get help with quitting drinking. They put me on pills the first night I took them. I ended up going out drinking, blacked out, drove when I shouldn't have, and unfortunately just kind of made the mistake of driving when I had no reason to. honestly, that is super regretful just because of there was no reason that I should have been driving. I had a place to stay that was within essentially walking distance to the bar. It was complete stupidity, and I deserved everything I got from that. Unfortunately for that incident and trying to reach out to the VA, neither one have been super helpful in getting me either like therapy help or help with quitting drinking. Both have like slapped me with meds, especially the VA for my therapist. It was meds, and I always had issues with them, between the side effects of sleeping all the time to not having any energy to kind of just it like shut off my emotions for many of the different meds I tried. And then going to the other facility and then pushing meds to help me quit drinking. Because I went back recently and they essentially did the same thing where they're like, you need to quit drinking right now and here's meds to stop drinking. Which I know I need to quit drinking. I don't know if I want to do it with meds. I didn't have good results the last time. I just quit smoking a year ago. My drinking's way down. I really just want to do it and not have to rely on medication. And she made valid points about how at any moment I could relapse and start drinking every day again and just head down that bad path again. But I just don't know if I have it in me to have another fail like that. I have too much in my life right now to where if I got another DUI, I don't know if I'd recover from it this time. So when you're listening to this podcast, just know that I'm not 100% sober. I'm trying. I really am. My drinking's way down. I mean, this last weekend, I didn't drink at all. We ended up going up to a family event with my mom, and I didn't end up drinking. Even sitting out by the fire with some of my wife's family and everything, I didn't have any drinks then, which is insane because, I mean, the longest I'd ever been sober was my DUI. Other than that, I usually drank weekly, at least. There were times when I drank daily. And just to be down to even this little is a huge step for me, and I want to maintain that without trying to throw another wrench in there and risk getting another DUI or more legal issues. And I mean, the drinking doesn't help my memory issues, so there will be a lot of points where I may stutter or have trouble kind of getting out what I want to say. So please be patient with me. I'd love to hear anybody else's story. So if you do have a story and you want to reach out and talk, if you want to co-host this with me, turn it into something where we can gather resources and everything. Just make kind of a community to where people know that they're welcome. Like I said in the last one, it doesn't matter if you're a day sober, if you're dealing with a hangover, you're always welcome here. This isn't a place where we're going to punch down to make somebody feel bad because they're not completely sober. That's one of the things I always wasn't a huge fan of in AA, was how the people with like 15 years sobriety kind of like looked down on the guys who were more recently sober. Because I mean, it takes a week to get to 15 years. I mean, it's a lot of weeks to get there, and it's a lot of work, but it takes that small amount of times and building up to that bigger amount of time. So if you do have any suggestions for the podcast, please reach out to me. You can email either letsexamineaddictionhonestly@gmail.com or the LEAHpodcast@gmail.com. Please like, subscribe, send any feedback, ideas, stories, anything you think would help. Just know that you are always appreciated. You are loved. All you have to do is take it one day at a time, and if you do fall off, don't beat yourself up for it and sink back into that hole, because I know there's been times where either through smoking or drinking where I had that failing and then I just sank lower into it and more depressed and hated myself more. So just know you got this. You can work towards it. You can make amazing strides. Don't let your achievements be clouded and overshadowed by your minor setbacks. Just know that you can do anything you set your mind to. And as Alan Watts said, you are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. You can always change. You can change in 5 minutes. You can change now from the person you were 5 minutes ago. Just know that there's always time to change, even if you haven't fully hit rock bottom. That, or if you are at rock bottom, just know that there is a way to build up and improve yourself. So thank you so much for listening. Please be patient as I kind of get my bearings into this podcast. Thank you so much for everything. Have a wonderful day. Bye.